The Crossfire commander Marcus Reed had spent 8 years staring into the abyss of space from Titan Observatory, humanity's most advanced deep space monitoring station. Suspended in Saturn's gravitational embrace, the facility represented the pinnacle of human achievement in astronomical observation. At 34, Marcus had already catalogued more stellar phenomena than most astronomers saw in a lifetime, but nothing had prepared him for what appeared on his screens at 06:23 hours on October 15, 2157. The gravitational wave detectors screamed warnings across every frequency. Energy signatures unlike anything in Earth's databases flooded the monitoring systems, massive, coordinated, and approaching fast. Marcus pushed himself away from his morning coffee, the liquid floating in perfect spheres in the station's low gravity environment, as his hands flew across the control interfaces. "Computer, run full spectrum analysis on incoming signatures," he commanded, his voice steady despite his racing heart. The artificial intelligence's response sent chills down his spine. Analysis complete. Detecting 47 large artificial constructs approaching from Galactic northeast. Estimated mass, each construct equivalent to Manhattan Island. Time to Sol system entry, 14 hours, 32 minutes. Dr. Zoe Hartwell, the station's xenobiology specialist, burst into the observatory chamber, her usually perfect brown hair disheveled from sleep. At 29, she was brilliant, intuitive, and Marcus's closest friend among Titan Observatory's crew of 18. Her dark eyes, normally sparkling with scientific curiosity, now reflected pure terror. "Marcus, tell me I'm reading these sensors wrong," she said, pulling up the data on her personal tablet. "These can't be natural formations." "They're not." Marcus highlighted the formation patterns on the main display. "Look at the spacing, the synchronized movement. This is a fleet, Zoe, a massive alien fleet." Before she could respond, the station's communication array detected a second set of signatures approaching from the opposite vector. These were different, smaller, more erratic in their movements, bearing what appeared to be battle damage. 23 vessels, scarred and desperate, fleeing toward Earth's solar system. Within hours, both fleets had emerged from faster-than-light travel at the system's edge. The first group, which Marcus designated as Fleet Alpha, moved with the precision of military perfection. Their ships were crystalline monuments to technological supremacy, each one dwarfing Earth's largest space stations. They arranged themselves in mathematical formations that spoke of a civilization that had never known defeat. Fleet Beta was different. Their vessels were darker, more angular, bearing the wounds of constant warfare. They moved like hunted animals, quick, unpredictable, desperate. As Marcus watched through the observatory's most powerful telescopes, he realized he was witnessing the pursuit of refugees by an overwhelming force. "Earth Control, this is Titan Observatory," Marcus broadcast on the emergency frequency. "We have a code red situation. 2 alien fleets have entered Sol system. Repeat, we are no longer alone." The response from Earth came 12 minutes later, delayed by the distance to Saturn. Director Jennifer Walsh's voice carried the weight of a world suddenly aware it had neighbors. "Titan Observatory, confirm your readings. Are you certain these are artificial constructs?" "Confirmed, Earth Control. We're looking at 60-plus alien vessels, 2 distinct fleets. They appear to be hostile to each other, not us. We're attempting first contact protocols now." Marcus and his team began broadcasting humanity's universal greeting message: mathematical sequences, prime numbers, chemical formulas, and basic pictographs representing human civilization. They transmitted on every conceivable frequency, in every format their technology could produce. The aliens ignored them completely. Supreme Admiral Vorthak stood on the command bridge of the Eternal Conquest, his imposing figure casting shadows across the tactical displays. His species, the Vorthaki, were tall and elegant with pale silver skin and large black eyes that reflected the cold light of distant stars. To him, the small blue-green world ahead was nothing more than a convenient backdrop for ending a centuries-old pursuit. "Status of the Kalari scum?" Vorthak commanded, his voice resonating with the authority of absolute power. "They've taken position behind the 3rd planet, Admiral," reported his tactical officer. 23 vessels, all showing battle damage. "They're trapped." Vorthak barely glanced at the sensor readings showing Earth's primitive radio transmissions. Irrelevant local wildlife. The Kalari chose this system to make their final stand. We shall accommodate them. On the other side of Earth, Fleet Commander Thane of the Kalari Resistance studied the blue world through sensors clouded by desperation. His people were stockier than the Vorthaki, with copper-colored skin and eyes that burned with the fire of the oppressed. They had been slaves once before winning their freedom through blood and sacrifice. "The Empire has us cornered," his weapons specialist reported grimly. 47 ships to our 23. They've driven us to this primitive system deliberately. Thane's scarred hands gripped the command rail until his knuckles went white. "Then we make our stand here. Better to die fighting than live in chains again." Neither fleet acknowledged the desperate transmissions from the small world between them. To the Vorthaki, humans were insects to be ignored. To the Kalari, Earth was simply terrain in their final battle. The first shots were fired at 13:47 hours Earth Standard Time. Energy beams that could crack moons lanced across the void, striking shields that bent space-time itself. The battle was beyond anything humans had imagined possible, a clash of technologies that made Earth's most advanced weapons look like stone tools. Marcus watched in horror from Titan Observatory as one of the energy beams, missing its intended target, struck Earth's moon. Luna, humanity's constant companion for billions of years, cracked like a broken eggshell. Massive chunks of lunar rock began drifting toward Earth, and the gravitational effects started immediately. "Oh God," Zoe whispered, her face pale as she calculated the trajectory of the lunar debris. "Marcus, we need to warn Earth immediately. Those fragments." Her words were cut short as the first pieces of the moon struck Earth's atmosphere. The planet's surface lit up with impact flashes as debris the size of skyscrapers slammed into oceans and continents. Coastal cities felt the first unnatural tidal surges as the moon's death throes disrupted patterns that had remained stable since life began. Dr. Zoe Hartwell worked frantically from her laboratory aboard Titan Observatory, analyzing the fragments of alien technology that the battle had scattered throughout the system. Her team of 3 xenobiologists had been studying the debris for 6 hours straight, trying to understand weapons and materials that defied known physics. "This isn't just advanced technology," she reported to Marcus over the intercom. "This is something completely different. The molecular structure of these materials responds to neural patterns. It's like they've integrated consciousness into their tools." Marcus split his attention between her findings and the growing catastrophe unfolding around Earth. The alien battle had moved closer to the planet, with both fleets using Earth's gravity well for tactical advantage. The sky above humanity's homeworld had become a battlefield, where exotic energies turned clouds to plasma, and gravitational weapons created auroras at the equator. The end came not with surrender or negotiation, but with indifference. A damaged Kalari fighter, its pilot wounded and dying, crash-landed in the Sahara Desert. Lieutenant Commander Wraith, barely alive and far from home, was found by human rescue teams. As she lay dying in a makeshift medical facility, Wraith spoke the first words any alien had ever directed toward humanity. Her translator, damaged but functional, converted her language into broken English. "You small ones, fight bravely," she whispered to Dr. Patricia Kim, the human physician trying to save her life. "But the galaxy does not see you. To them, you are nothing, less than insects." With her final breath, Wraith pressed a small device into Dr. Kim's hand, a neural interface that pulsed with the same energy as the alien technology fragments. The device contained star charts, tactical information, and most importantly, recognition that humans existed. As the first week of the Galactic War drew to a close, Earth was a dying world. The atmosphere choked with exotic particles, the oceans boiled with unnatural energy, and cities lay in ruins from lunar debris and stray weapons fire. Billions of humans were dead or missing, and the survivors huddled in underground shelters while Titans fought in the sky above. But in those hidden bunkers and secret facilities, something new was being born. Marcus Reed, now coordinating the evacuation of Earth's orbital installations, held Wraith's device in his scarred hands. The dying warrior's words echoed in his mind. The galaxy did not see them, considered them nothing. That was about to change. The aliens had dismissed humanity as primitive, irrelevant, beneath the notice of galactic powers. They had been proven right in the most brutal way possible. But they had also made a fatal mistake. They had underestimated what humans could do when they had nothing left to lose. The war that had destroyed Earth was about to discover what happened when you made enemies of a species with nothing left to lose and everything to prove. The Awakening. 6 months after the first alien shots shattered humanity's peace, Earth was a graveyard world. The oceans glowed with bioluminescent algae mutated by exotic radiation, while the atmosphere flickered with unnatural auroras that painted the sky in impossible colors. Where great cities once stood, twisted monuments of melted glass and metal served as tombstones for a civilization the galaxy had forgotten. But beneath the scarred surface, in caverns carved from living rock and hidden bases scattered throughout the asteroid belt, humanity refused to die quietly. Captain Jake Morrison had once commanded commercial freight runs between Earth and Mars. Now he stood in the command center of Haven Station, a hidden facility built inside a hollowed-out asteroid. In the belt between Mars and Jupiter, what had started as an emergency mining operation had become the unofficial capital of human resistance. At 38, Jake's face bore new scars from the evacuation of Luna City, and his once bright blue eyes now carried the weight of many friends lost. Around him, the former merchants, scientists, and colonists who had survived the initial catastrophe worked with the focused intensity of people who knew extinction was their only alternative to victory. Status report. Jake called to Dr. Rebecca Stone, a former aerospace engineer who had become their chief technology officer after losing her entire research team in the bombardment of Geneva. Rebecca looked up from her workstation, exhaustion etched into every line of her 32-year-old face. She'd been working 18-hour days for months, reverse engineering alien technology with a team of Earth's surviving scientists. The hybrid prototypes are ready for field testing, she announced, unable to keep the pride from her voice. Jake, we've actually done it. We've built ships that can fight them. He followed her through the station's corridors to the hidden hangar bay, where their latest creation waited. It looked like no vessel ever built by human hands, a hybrid of salvaged alien technology and human engineering that followed no aesthetic except deadly efficiency. Where alien ships were elegant and flowing, the human fighters were angular and aggressive, bristling with weapon systems cobbled together from a dozen different technologies. We call her the Reaper, Rebecca said, running her hand along the hull's strange metal surface. She's got Vorthaki shield generators, Kalari energy weapons, and a human neural interface. The aliens designed their systems to work with predictable, logical minds, but human pilots think in ways that completely confuse their targeting computers. Dr. Angela Torres, their xenopsychologist, emerged from the cockpit where she'd been calibrating the neural interface systems. At 27, she was the youngest department head on the station, but her expertise in alien behavioral patterns had become invaluable. The breakthrough came when we realized how differently we process tactical decisions, Angela explained as Jake examined the hybrid controls. Alien minds follow predictable patterns. They calculate optimal solutions and execute them perfectly. But humans, we're chaotic, intuitive, sometimes completely irrational. Our ships literally don't know what they're going to do next, so neither do enemy targeting computers. The test flight was a revelation. The Reaper moved through space like a living thing, its hybrid systems creating patterns of movement that no alien strategist could predict. When automated defense drones tried to intercept, they found themselves shooting at empty space, while human weapons found their marks with devastating accuracy. Word of the successful tests spread through the hidden human enclaves scattered across the solar system. On Europa Station, survivors from the former Jupiter Mining Consortium worked around the clock to build more hybrid fighters. In the ruins of the Ceres orbital platform, salvage teams stripped useful technology from alien wrecks that drifted through the asteroid belt. Even on Earth's poisoned surface in underground factories powered by geothermal energy, Volunteers who knew they would likely die from radiation exposure manufactured weapons and components for the growing human fleet. The formal alliance with the Kalari came 3 weeks later. Fleet Commander Thane arrived at Haven Station in a battered cruiser, his hull scarred by months of running battles with the Vorthaki Empire. The alien warrior stepped onto the human station with the caution of someone who had learned to trust no one completely, but his burning copper eyes showed respect for what humanity had accomplished. "Your species continues to surprise," Thane said to Jake through his translator, the device having been adjusted to human speech patterns. "The Empire believes you extinct. They celebrate the cleansing of this system and prepare to move on to their next conquest." Jake's jaw tightened as he studied tactical displays showing Vorthaki fleet positions. "Let them think we're dead. It'll make our counterattack more effective." The alliance was formalized not with treaties or ceremonies, but with shared intelligence and coordinated strike plans. Thane provided detailed star charts showing Vorthaki patrol routes and supply lines, while Jake offered something the Kalari rebels had never possessed: ships that could strike without warning and disappear before enemy reinforcements arrived. Dr. Torres worked closely with Kalari tactical specialists to understand Vorthaki psychology. "They're apex predators," she explained to the Joint Planning Committee. "They've conquered so many worlds that they literally cannot conceive of defeat. Their entire tactical doctrine assumes their enemies will fight conventionally, stand and fight, retreat in order, surrender when overwhelmed. What they can't handle," added Kalari war leader Vex, a scarred veteran who had fought the Empire for 15 years, "is enemies who refuse to follow the rules. Enemies who appear from nowhere, strike without warning, and vanish like shadows." The IMAM, first joint operation, targeted a Vorthaki research station that had been established to study the ruins of Earth's moon. Supreme Admiral Vorthak had set up the facility to analyze human culture and technology, treating Earth like an archaeological dig rather than the grave of a civilization. Jake led a squadron of 12 Reaper fighters, their hulls painted matte, black to blend with the void. Beside them flew 8 Kalari stealth craft, their experienced pilots eager to strike back at their oppressors. The station itself was a crystalline structure that orbited the largest remaining chunk of Luna, defended by automated systems that had never faced an unpredictable enemy. "Remember," Jake broadcast to his pilots as they approached, "the moment they detect us, we become ghosts. No formation flying, no predictable attack patterns. Trust your instincts and make them guess what we'll do next." The attack began at 0400 station time. Human fighters dove through the defensive grid in patterns that defied tactical logic. Some pilots pulling impossible maneuvers that should have torn their ships apart. Others flying in straight lines that no sane pilot would attempt. The station's artificial intelligence, programmed to counter rational threats, couldn't predict targets that acted irrationally. Within minutes, the research station's shields were down and its defensive weapons were silent. Jake's fighters strafed the facility's critical systems while Kalari boarding parties secured the data cores. They destroyed 3 months of research into human weaknesses and captured intelligence that revealed the Empire's next targets. The entire operation lasted 18 minutes. By the time Vorthaki reinforcements arrived, the attackers had vanished into the asteroid belt, leaving behind only wreckage and the growing realization that Earth's extinct species was very much alive. Supreme Admiral Vorthak stood in his command chamber aboard the Eternal Conquest, staring at reports that made no tactical sense. The research station's destruction was bad enough, but the method troubled him more. His species had perfected warfare over millennia of conquest, yet these attackers had used techniques that violated every principle of civilized combat. "Analysis?" he demanded from his tactical officer. "The attack patterns are chaotic, Admiral. No recognizable formation doctrine, no logical strategic approach. It's as if they intentionally chose the worst possible tactical options." Vorthak's black eyes narrowed. "Show me the wreckage analysis." The holographic display revealed fragments of technology that shouldn't exist, Vorthaki shield generators integrated with Kalari weapons and something else, something organic and unpredictable in its neural interface patterns. "The extinct species," Vorthak whispered, understanding dawning in his voice. "They're not extinct. They're learning." Back at Haven Station, Jake addressed the combined human and Kalari command staff. Around the conference table sat the survivors who had become leaders through necessity. Rebecca with her engineering genius, Angela with her understanding of alien psychology, Thane with his decades of resistance experience, and dozens of others who had chosen to fight rather than accept extinction. This was just the beginning, Jake announced, displaying tactical projections across the holographic display. We've proven we can hurt them, but one research station won't change the war. We need to make them understand that dismissing humanity was the biggest mistake in their empire's history. Rebecca activated a new display showing production schedules for their hybrid technology. We'll have 40 Reaper-class fighters operational within 2 months. The asteroid mining equipment we've converted can produce enough raw materials for a full fleet. Angela stood, her young face hard with determination. I've been analyzing Vorthaki's psychological profiles from the captured data. They're not just arrogant. They're genuinely incapable of adapting to unexpected threats. Every world they've conquered fell the same way, through overwhelming force applied to predictable resistance. They've never faced an enemy that refused to fight by their rules. Thane nodded approvingly. The Empire has grown fat on easy victories. They expect their enemies to stand and fight honorably, to retreat when overwhelmed, to surrender when hope is lost. What will they do when faced with enemies who attack from shadows, who refuse to retreat, who fight hardest when hope is gone? Jake looked around the table at the faces of humanity's survivors, scarred, exhausted, but burning with a fury that the galaxy had never seen. Then let's teach them. Let's show these superior beings what happens when you underestimate a species with nothing left to lose. As the meeting dispersed and the survivors returned to their tasks, Jake remained in the command center, staring at the tactical displays that showed Vorthaki fleet movements throughout the solar system. The aliens still moved with the confidence of predators who had never known fear, still treated this system as conquered territory. That was about to change. The war that had begun with humanity's destruction was about to become something else entirely. A lesson in why the galaxy's apex predators should never dismiss the species they consider beneath notice. Earth's children were coming, and they were very, very angry.